Do you have a plant in your home that is just sitting there not growing? Chances are you're not giving it the things it needs to help it thrive. Well, these are 9 simple ways to turbocharge your plant's growth so that your collection can be the envy of all your neighbours. Let's begin. Houseplants are just like us in many ways. They're a sweet spot for temperature. Yep, they need an ideal temperature range to grow big and strong, just like how we need ideal room temperature to feel comfortable and not shiver or sweat. If it's too hot or too cold, our plants can't grow as well and may even start to droop or even die. Think about it like this. If your houseplant was a person, it'd be like trying to exercise with bare feet in the snow or trying to sunbathe in the desert without water. Not fun, right? Well, our plants aren't too fond of extreme temperatures either. They want that sweet spot, that Goldilocks temperature range, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Get it right and then really start to push out lots of growth. So what's the ideal temperature range for houseplants? It does vary depending on the species, but most prefer temperatures between 15 to 24 degrees Celsius. You don't need to be constantly monitoring the thermometer like a hawk though. Just keep your plant away from drafts and extreme temperature changes and make sure they're not getting too close to heating or cooling vents. And be careful about ordering plants online during cold weather. If the seller doesn't pack them correctly with heat packs and they're left sat in a cold sorting office, they're really not going to be happy. I experienced this last year with my Philodendron verrucosum and melanocrosum. They both went into cold shock from the journey and are only just starting to recover 6 months later. Always give your plants as much light as possible regardless of what species it is. This is the best cheat code for turbocharging their growth and the one thing that is going to make the biggest difference. If they're not getting high light, then they won't be growing to their full potential, even ZZ plants. Even keeping a plant 2 meters away from the window as opposed to 1 meter can have a surprisingly big impact. The thing I like to do is have a look at how much of the sky they can see. Their view of the sky can be obstructed by walls and a ceiling, as well as outside buildings, hedges or trees. If they can't see much of the sky, they consider moving it to a better spot. You'll see a big difference in growth. A word of caution though, too much light can be too much of a good thing. If you're keeping your plants under grow lights 24/7, then it's really not helping. This may sound counterintuitive, but plants need their 8 hours of beauty sleep a day just like you and me. Without it, they can't regulate photosynthesis, get grumpy and essentially run out of juice. If they're sat under grow lights, then just turn it off for 8 hours a day and you'll see much better results. Giving your houseplants a little haircut can actually result in stronger growth. That's right, pruning your plant is like giving it a refreshing spa day. It can help promote new growth, increase branching, and even improve its overall health and appearance. And here's the deal, when you prune your houseplant, you're removing any dead, damaged or diseased foliage or stems. This helps prevent the spread of pests or disease and promote the growth of new, healthy tissue. Pruning encourages your plant to produce more branches and foliage, which makes it look fuller and lusher. When you cut a stem or branch, you're essentially signaling to the plant that it needs to redirect its resources to the remaining parts of the plant. This results in denser growth and stronger stems, and I don't give a second thought to pruning my plants. I recently cut my Tradescantia albiflora right back in my recent Patreon video because it was looking tired, like all Tradescantias do after a while. I'm not worried in the slightest about it growing back stronger than before. I recently made a video about what happened to my rubber tree that I hard pruned last year, and I showed how much growth there has been even after cutting away all its foliage. This next one may sound a little crazy, but hear me out. What's the one thing our indoor plants are deprived of that they get plenty of when growing in their natural habitat? Wind. Yes, wind can play a surprisingly important role in the development of healthy plants. If you want to take your indoor jungle game to the next level, then setting up a fan to blow over your plants can be a great thing. For one thing, it helps to strengthen the stems of a plant by increasing resistance. This means that when wind blows, the plant needs to work harder to stay upright, which can lead to thicker, stronger stems over time. And wind can also help keep pests and disease at bay. This is because the increased air circulation around the plant helps to keep the environment drier and less hospitable to mold and fungus. Now I know what you're thinking, won't a fan just dry out my plants and cause them to wilt? Well, it's true that you do need to be careful when setting up a fan to blow over your plants. You don't want to blast them with hot, dry air or create a wind tunnel that could damage delicate foliage. Instead, try setting up a fan on a low setting and positioning it so that it creates a gentle breeze across your plants. You can also adjust the angle or height of the fan to make sure that it's hitting all the areas of the plant evenly. One of the best things you can do for your trailing plant is to tie it onto something that it can grow up. You end up with a much healthier plant with bigger leaves. The trouble is that bamboo stakes and moss poles are just so ugly. So introducing Bear by today's video sponsor Trellis, the functional and stylish trellis designed specifically for your vining plants. Train your plants to climb a unique support that hangs on the wall and watch as your leaves mature, aerial roots attach and your plants stand up straight. They come in 4 classic designs and 2 sizes, grand and regular. The best thing is that these trellises are also free of any treatment, meaning you have the freedom to customize them in a way that suits your style. I painted my Grand Palmella in a rather distinctive choice of colours that my Syngonian Red Arrow will be able to climb up, and my Monstrella a rather fetching glittery blue for my Pothos to climb up. The possibilities are endless, and it's what makes this range so much fun. Follow the link in the description to this video and use Sheffield 10 as a discount at checkout to receive a 10% discount on all orders. If you want to keep your houseplants healthy and thriving, make sure to give them a chance to dry out completely before watering again. This will help ensure that they're getting the right amount of water and nutrients to grow strong and beautiful. If you water your plants too frequently, the roots can become waterlogged and start to rot. This can lead to a whole host of problems including stunted growth, yellowing leaves, and even plant death. By allowing your houseplants to dry out completely before watering again, you're giving the roots a chance to breathe and recover from any excess moisture. You want to fully saturate the soil so that all the roots get a good drink and not just half the roots when you pour a little bit of water in. And how can you tell if the soil is dry or not? Get the world's best invention, the moisture meter. Stick this fella into the soil and it tells you exactly how wet or dry your plant is. No more guessing. Check out my Amazon store linked below for the one I use. You won't regret it. To turbocharge your plant's growth, you really need to give them an athlete's diet as opposed to giving them junk food or even not feeding them at all. While light is the most important factor for bushy growth, a good diet of decent fertilizer will add fuel to the fire. Don't worry about the specifics of how much potassium there is compared to phosphorus and whether this is the best option for your peace lily to flower. Instead, keep it nice and stress-free for yourself and get a good all-round balanced feed suitable for indoor plants. This will have everything your indoor plants will need. There are tons to choose from slow release pellets to water soluble granules to liquid feed or even homemade recipes. Just pick a feed that you're comfortable with using every month. I used to use Miracle Grow granules, but I've recently switched to Focus, which is a more natural solution. Miracle Grow is fine, but I found it really annoying dealing with those fluorescent blue granules that would stain my hands and my clothes. Plus, you're less likely to suffer fertilizer root burn with a natural feed than a synthetic one like Miracle Grow. And this is crucial if you're forgetful like me and have no idea when you last fed your plants. How often do you change the soil of your plants? Maybe you've got a plant that hasn't seen new soil for a few years. Even if they're not root bound, it can be a great way to turbocharge their growth in spring, just when they're gearing up for summer. When you first pot your plants up into fresh compost, there'll be tons of beneficial organisms and micronutrients that slowly deplete from the soil over time. Soil becomes stale just like the food in your pantry. By changing the soil, you're providing a fresh, healthy growing medium for your plant, giving it access to a new source of nutrients that can help support healthy growth. Old soil also becomes compacted over time, making it difficult for water to penetrate and drain properly, and this can lead to waterlogging and root rot. Fresh soil, on the other hand, is loose and porous, allowing water to drain through more easily and preventing root rot. Fresh soil is lighter and more porous than old soil, which can improve aeration and promote healthy root growth. This can help your plant to absorb nutrients more effectively and support overall growth. And I use a simple blend of 5 parts all-purpose compost that I buy from my local garden centre and 2 parts perlite, and my plants absolutely love it. When you do repot your plants into new soil, then a pro tip is to not bother breaking up the roots, especially if it's not severely root bound. I stopped doing this a couple of years ago and my plants are much better for it. I used to hack away at mine with a stick, ripping them at the sides. It'd always take a long time for them to bounce back after the ordeal. I now only do a very light untangling at most. Roots are perfectly capable of growing into the new soil by themselves. The anxiety that roots will continue to circle the pot and strangle the plant is a little overblown and stems from the condition known as girdling in the tree surgery world. Encircling tree roots can constrict a tree trunk, restricting the flow of water and nutrients through the tree, leading to stunted growth and branch dieback. But this tends to happen when trees are planted in compact soil with little room to spread out. And this tends to be much less of a problem with our little houseplants. Upsize your plant and give it a free draining soil and you're good to go. The roots will grow freely into the new soil. To avoid 6 of the cruelest plant lessons I learned the hard way, check out the video on screen now so that you can avoid some of the fails I experienced along my plant collecting journey, including the mess I got into with terracotta pots.